practicing a paragraph writing on Mujib Borsho. So particularly, why have I just chosen this topic above everything else? The main reason being is that, as I've already mentioned, anything related to the father of our nation is very important for our syllabus. So things like Mujib Borsho, things like the 7th March speech by Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, all of these things are some facts that you need to know a lot of details about. Because let's say you don't know anything about Mujib Borsho apart from the fact that he is the father of our nation. Then if this paragraph comes, then you'll be in big trouble because you do not know any facts or figures. So this is why I am teaching you this particular topic, so that you can know a lot of facts. So you see, first of all, before there is any paragraph that is given to you, what will we do in the very beginning? In the very beginning, we will look at the topic and then we will try to figure out what are the points that we can give initially. So what I advise every single time is to define what is already in the topic. So because we see here, the topic is Mujib Borsho and not just only Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. This means that we will at first define the topic, which is Mujib Borsho. So if I define the topic, as you can see here, I've written Mujib Borsho has been declared by the government marking the 100th anniversary of the birth of the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, full stop. Now, in the same line, you could have written it another way. You could have written that our father of the nation is named Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, full stop. He has, his birth anniversary is on 17 March 1920, full stop. Then, for this reason, this date was called Mujib Borsho, or this date was been declared. So you see, these 3 different points have been incorporated into one single sentence. Why? Because whenever you put these sentences individually, in that case, they all form simple sentences. So because it's a paragraph, we know we cannot form different paragraphs. Everything has to be written continuously, right, from the beginning till the end. At the same time, how are you going to make your the person who checks your copies? How are you going to make your examiner find out that you are actually better than the rest of the students? How? Only if you can incorporate these simple sentences inside many different compound sentences or complex sentences. So for this reason, I have used many clauses, I have used commas, I have used conjunctions, and that is how I have joined this. Okay? So this is something that you need to practice a lot about. Like anyone can tell a story, right? But if you want to put an entire long and elongated sentence, what is very important is for you to join the different phrases and clauses with many different words. Only then you can be an expert in learning, in knowing how to form these different clauses. Okay? So, yes, these are the information that you need to know. You need to know when he was born. He was born on 17th March 1920. Remember that before any particular date, we use on and not in. Okay? So these are some things, some small rules that you need to remember. Why do we learn grammar in the first place? Do we learn grammar only because in English second paper we have grammar questions? No. The basic reason why your school or college is teaching you grammar, or why I am teaching you grammar, is so that you can learn the language properly. So here, only because you have learnt the English language properly, this is the main reason why you can write a paragraph, and in the paragraph, in the essay, in the letter, in any form of composition, you need to remember all of the rules or all of the grammatical rules that you have been learning so far, okay? So, he was born on 17 March 1920 in the Gopalganj Mohkuma. So, this is a fact that you need to remember so that you can write this. His father's name was Sheikh Lutfur Rahman and mother's name was Shaira Khatun. He was an intelligent boy from his childhood. So you see, till Shaira Khatun, all of these facts, could you ever make them up if you had not learned them? Never, right? So there are some particular topics that you should need to know many facts about, and this is one of them. Okay, so after my class, make sure you learn these properly, okay? He was an intelligent boy from his childhood. He took his primary and secondary education in Gopalganj because he was born in Gopalganj Mahokuma. So he took his primary education, which means classes 1 to 5. That is the primary education, right? So he took his primary education in Gopalganj. After that, he got admitted to Kolkata Islamic College. So we understand that right after class 5, later on when he went to college, then he was admitted where? In Kolkata Islamic College. So not in Bangladesh anymore, right? Because Kolkata was still considered a part of the Bengal province, because there people still spoke in Bangla, right? So Kolkata Islamic College, he achieved a BA degree in 1947. So you can understand, just a quick math, because he was born in 1920 and he got this BA degree in 1947. So he was the age of 27 when he got the BA degree, the bachelor's degree. Now you might be wondering that most of the students in today's times, when do they get their bachelor's degree? They get their bachelor's degree at around 23 or 24. But why did he get it in 1947? Because back then, of course, education was not as reformed as it is right now. Right now, it's very common for any single person to go to university. It's actually very common. But back then, it was considered a luxury. So probably he took some gap years. Probably he learned many new skills while he was in college, or maybe he extended his knowledge for a long period of time, right? We don't know. The country was then under the British colonial rule, and the oppressors were looting the resources of this country. We already know about the history of 1947, right? Because we know in 1947, the entire Indian subcontinent was divided, and that is when we saw the origin of two different countries, which was India and Pakistan. So right after he received or achieved a BA degree in 1947, then we know what? That the country was then under British colonial rule. So the British people were ruling all over that area, all over the Bangladesh area. Then the oppressors were looting the resources of the country. Why was there a war in the first place? Why was there so much chaos in the first place? Because those British people, when they were here, if they just had left us in peace, then we would not actually fight. Maybe if they left us in peace, if they gave our rights, if they gave our freedom, maybe even till now, we would all be having many British people surrounding us. But do we right now? No, because they were oppressors. Oppressors means that they were giving us the burden. So they were burdening us and they were looting. Looting means stealing the resources of this country. What does resources mean? Resources means all of the different factors which are important in our country, like our land, our workers, they made our workers into slaves, our freedom, our rights, our language, our or the food that we made, the clothes that we had. So they were, of course, they were looting our resources, which was not fair. He raised his voice against the oppression of the regime. So because he has now achieved the bachelor's degree, now he has a lot of knowledge. He already had a very clever thinking or a very good sense in the head, and now he has even more power because now he has a degree, so now he has more knowledge. So what did he do with that knowledge? He actually used his knowledge to the maximum because he raised his voice against the oppression of the regime. He said that no, we will not handle this oppression anymore. We will now speak against it. In 1947, the Indian subcontinent was divided into two countries named as India and Pakistan. And just as I've mentioned a few minutes ago, that in 1947 we know that the Indian subcontinent was divided into two countries, and the countries were named India and Pakistan. Our motherland was referred to as East Pakistan, but it was far away from its west counterpart. What does the word counterpart mean? It means that it's another part which was the West Pakistan. It was actually far away from our country, East Pakistan. And in the middle, we know geographically in the middle there is India, right? Okay, so this is what had happened back in those times. So what did we do? Let's just recap everything that's in the slide. We described Mujib Borsho, we wrote a little about his childhood, and then we are growing. As he is growing, our story is growing as well, right? So we are going just like history. Now, after the division, this country was again being oppressed by the West Pakistani rulers. So, after the division, he thought it was over, because he thought that because we have made the British power flee from our country, maybe now you can be free. But no, even now, we were being oppressed by the West Pakistani rulers. Okay, then Sheikh Mujib protested to this, and he became the villain in the eye of West Pakistani oppressors. So, you might be saying that if I say that Sheikh Mujib now is a villain, isn't that a bad thing, or isn't that a very rude or a very shocking thing to say, right? Of course it was, but if you look at it closely, if there are two parties, and if you belong to the party where you are doing something that you think is right, but the other party is thinking that it's wrong, and if that other party member comes to your country and tries to protest against it, you will also think that that person is a villain, right? So the same thing happened here to the West Pakistanis. They thought that because they were oppressing the East Pakistanis, it's totally fine, and that they should not say anything about it. But because there was something from East Pakistan, there was someone from East Pakistan who started oppressing against their powers, they considered our Honorable Sheikh Mujibur Rahman as what? As the villain, okay? So, in the eye of West Pakistani oppressors. So, he had to face jail several times for serving his country's purpose. Like, even right now, if you are someone who is not interested in what our country people is doing, if you protest, if you go against their rules, if you speak against or speak ill about their rules, you will be facing jail as well, because you are considered as a potential threat to our current government, right? Similarly, the people, those who were in East Pakistan, they also thought that he was a villain, and because he was constantly speaking against them, for this reason, what did they do? They actually made him to go to jail several times for this. Finally, the West Pakistani rulers planned a genocide to stop the voice of this country. What is genocide? Genocide means mass murder, mass killing of all people. So, the West Pakistani rules, they actually thought that, okay, enough is enough, because they are still speaking against us. So, why don't we do something? Why don't we kill a lot of them, so that they can understand that they should not cross us, they should not speak against us, and that they will learn their lesson, or they will threat us. But no, we East Pakistanis, of course, will not be so scared so easily, right? So, though they conducted a general election in 1970, in which Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman achieved, okay, there will be a D here, achieved the majority vote, but wasn't being able to form the government. So, what did we see here? The Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, he achieved the majority vote, but he could not form the government. So, why could he not form the government? Because once again, people were against him. They did not let him do as he wanted, right? This also fired the cartridge among the people of East Pakistan. So the people of East Pakistan, they were like, no, we do not support this, we should go against this. So, and also they were very scared of this, because on 1970 in the election, they thought that probably they will win, but they did not expect that the person whom they consider as a villain will win, okay? On 7 March 1971, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman gave a speech in front of millions of people, which encouraged the people of East Pakistan to fight for their liberation. And then we know, on 7 March 1971, we know that our father of our nation made history. He made very, very bold statements where all of the people in the East Pakistan were enraged, and they had their blood boiling in their veins, because they now knew that no, enough is enough. We cannot handle this oppression anymore. We must have that courage. We must all be united and fight against them. So, This was the turning point of the people's eagerness for the ultimate independence from the West Pakistani oppressors. So this actually created that turning point, and Bangladesh gained its victory after 9 months of bloody war against the Pakistani military force. And then we know this is the way in which it became the turning point, and then people, those who were all accepting the oppression, now they don't accept them anymore. They now were protesting along with our Sheikh Mujib as our leader. And then after 9 months of bloody war, we actually got our victory. So after the liberation of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu started his work to enrich Bangladesh in finance and other aspects. So you might be thinking that because the liberation war is over, is our paragraph over? No, because we have to now give evidence that why is Mujib Borsho so important? Why should we honor him for the entire year, right? Why is this, what importance does this give on our lives? So we are trying to say what he had done after Bangladesh became liberated. So Bangabandhu started his work to enrich Bangladesh in finance and other aspects. So finance means anything related to our basically finance means anything that is related to numbers, to our economy, to our economical resources, to the efficiency with which we can keep our money in our country, and how to build that money, how to build our economy, how to make our economy better, how to develop them. But he wasn't being able to perform his actions as he was murdered along with his family on 15 August 1975. So he had a lot of dreams, but he could not because his family and himself was murdered on 15th August 1975. So this was one of the saddest incidents in the history of Bangladesh. Yes, but still we remember him as a father of the nation, and we will remember it forever. So that is what it's written here, that because he was killed, but that does not mean that he did not do enough, because he planned a lot. He did more than enough. He did more than what people expected him to do. And then as he was killed, it became a very mournful incident in our lives. Who killed him? Those whom he thought were his closest people killed him. Those whom he thought would protect him were the ones who shot a bullet right through his heart, right? So that is even more heartbreaking, knowing that the people whom you trust, whom you love, will one day kill yourself, who one day will shoot you. So that is the worst type of betrayal there is, right? So, but still, then government has declared his 100th birth year as a Mujib Borsho and will be celebrated with the utmost respect. So for this reason, his 100th birth year, which was 2020, was being fulfilled as his Mujib Borsho, and it was celebrated. His life and struggle will always teach us to work for the betterment of the people of our country. And finally, in conclusion, we know that his life and his struggles will always be remembered, and we will never be able to repay the debt. Okay? So yes, this was an entire paragraph of Mujib Borsho. If you think that you have any other points that you would like to add, feel free. It's not mandatory that you have to write exactly what I've written. Maybe there can be a lot of points that I have written that you may not want. Maybe you would want to explain the celebration part, the present part, instead of the liberation war. Maybe you would want to explain what he had said on 7th March. That's still fine, okay? So there can be a lot of points that you can omit or you can add as necessary.